My mother passed when I was like 8 years old. I went to live with my grandparents. And she had me when she was 15, so, back then it wasn't as common as the young girls have children at 15, a little more now than they did then. So at that point, she started hustling to be able to provide for me at that point.
King Harris just posted a picture of 50 Cent's dead mother's grave and told him to dig her up so they could compare whose mama looks better. I'm going to say that again because I need it to actually land. A 20-something-year-old kid just told one of the most feared trolls in hip-hop history to exhume his mother's body on the internet in front of everybody. And honestly, the internet loved it. Because for the first time in maybe ever, somebody is matching 50 Cent's energy beat for beat and not backing down. And the reason this whole thing started, 50 Cent decided to drag T.I.'s wife Tiny into a beef she had absolutely nothing to do with, and her son King said not today. But here's the thing, while King is out here going to war for his mama, 50 Cent might actually know something about King's personal life that changes this entire conversation. So let me break down how a Verzuz negotiation turned into one of the nastiest family feuds the internet has seen this year. Okay, so this whole mess traces back to something that should have been fun. 50 Cent and T.I. were both making music in the early 2000s, came up during the same era, and a Verzuz battle between them made perfect sense on paper. Fans had been calling for it. The matchup was obvious, and reportedly, 50 actually agreed to do it at first. Like, it was a done deal. But then he pulled out. No real explanation, no public reason, no scheduling conflict press release. He just backed away from it quietly and hoped nobody would bring it up again. So naturally, when T.I. got asked in an interview why the Verzuz never happened, he said what everybody was already thinking, that 50 couldn't step up to him.
Me and this nigga talk back there, bro. This shit, I ain't just called a nigga out the blue. Yeah. Me and this nigga talk back there.
You talk about you with 50?
Yeah, man. We talk about this shit, man. This shit just come out of nowhere. Nigga, we were moving around in LA, man, selling some TV shows and shit while we were around each other, man. You know what I mean? I said, shit, what you think about this? He was like, shit, you wanna do that shit? I said, yeah. He was like, all right, cool. So shit. And I told him, I said, well, I'm gonna jump out there first, and then you just gonna jump out there and we'll line it up. And he said, all right. And when I jump out there, nigga act like he ain't know what the fuck was going on.
He basically said his catalog was stronger, and 50 knew it, which is why he ducked. And honestly, T.I. clowned him pretty hard about it too. And listen, whether you agree with that take or not, you have to admit T.I. had every right to say it. You agreed to something publicly, you pulled out with no explanation, and now the other person is supposed to just pretend it didn't happen? That's not how this works, especially not with T.I., who has never been the type to let somebody punk him publicly and walk away clean. But 50 Cent, and this is so predictable, it's almost funny, did not take that well at all. He hopped on social media and started posting about how Atlanta picks and chooses who they support, told T.I. to keep his name out of his mouth, the usual 50 playbook.
I grew up under circumstances where it is not optional. It's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? And then you going, look, battling has always been a part of hip-hop culture. If you're not competing.
Then he escalated it further and posted an old clip of T.I. in court that was clearly meant to paint him as a snitch. Classic deflection, right? Can't win the music argument, so you pivot to character assassination and hope the narrative shifts. But T.I. kept pushing back, though, doubling down on the catalog comparison, not letting up for a second, which was clearly getting under 50's skin in a way we don't normally see. Because what happened next is where everything went completely left, and where 50 showed exactly who he is when he's losing an argument. Instead of keeping the beef where it belonged, between two grown men debating their musical legacies, 50 Cent posted an extremely unflattering photo of Tiny while she was performing on stage. Just put it right out there for his millions of followers to laugh at. And that right there is what gets me, because Tiny was not in this at all. She wasn't talking about 50, wasn't subtweeting him, wasn't inserting herself into the conversation in any way. This is a woman who genuinely minds her own business. And yeah, people online have given her a hard time about cosmetic surgery before, but there's a massive difference between random internet commentary and a man with 30 million followers deliberately posting an embarrassing photo of someone's wife just to score points in a beef with her husband. That's not trolling anymore. That's targeted cruelty against someone who can't fight back the same way. And everybody with any sense recognized that 50 had crossed a line. And that's exactly when King Harris entered the chat and turned this entire situation upside down. Because whatever you think about King, and I know people have opinions, that boy was not about to let a single soul disrespect his mother without consequences. His first move was nuclear. He posted that photo of 50 Cent's mother's grave with a message telling him to go dig her up so they could see whose mama actually looks better.
Post a picture of your motherfucking mama. She dead. Hey, respect, nigga. Stop fucking playing with my mama. Nigga ain't playing like that. Nigga ain't going like that, nigga. How y'all raised, I'm not raised like that. I don't go. I'm not going about my mama. I'm not going. So tell your mama dig her ass up and post a picture that look better than my mama, nigga.
Now, 50 Cent's mother passed away when he was only 8 years old, so this is deeply personal territory. But here's the thing that a lot of people defending 50 seem to conveniently forget. 50 is the one who opened the door to bringing mothers into this. You don't get to drag someone's wife and mother of their children into a beef and then act shocked when the kids show up swinging. King also told 50 that the reason he moves like this, attacking people's families, going after women, is because he doesn't have any real family around him. And I need everyone to sit with that observation for a second, because it's actually kind of devastating when you think about it. King basically said the quiet part out loud, that 50's entire career of trolling and burning bridges has left him isolated, and that loneliness is exactly why he lashes out at other people's families. Now, if this was anybody else going at 50 Cent, this is probably where it would have ended. The other person backs down, 50 declares victory, everybody moves on. But King Harris apparently did not get that memo because he was just getting started when 50 posted a frog meme implying King was ugly, followed by another video mocking both King and Tiny's appearances just to make sure the message was crystal clear. King fired right back. He dug up a clip of 50 Cent in court defending himself after a physical altercation with 3 women and posted it with a caption calling him out for only applying pressure to females. Then, and this is the part that really sent the internet into a frenzy, King posted a photo of 50 Cent's son sitting on his lap as a teenager and questioned what kind of man 50 was raising. He called it out in the most disrespectful way possible. Now that one was deeply personal, that was calculated. That was designed to hurt in a way that memes and clapbacks can't. And you could tell it landed because for the first time in this entire exchange, 50 Cent's energy completely shifted.
He's been trained to believe what you see him say in that interview. That what he was saying, he's been trained to believe that for a long time, bro. Like, you don't just wake up and say, oh, well, I don't believe what I've been believing forever.
But never be open to it?
No, I don't think the relationship works. For a long time, Charlie, man, I've been running behind him. I went places that he went, and he left the place.
He went quiet on King and Tiny and redirected everything toward King's own family situation, specifically his baby mama. And that pivot tells you everything you need to know about exactly where King hit a nerve, because 50 Cent does not change strategy unless he's rattled. So here's what 50 started putting out there. And honestly, this is the part of the story that adds a whole different layer to everything. King Harris recently had a son with a woman known as Big Nana. And ever since that baby was born, people online have been whispering about the entire situation. Nobody really knows who Nana is. Not her real age, not where she came from, not her background, not much of anything concrete. She kind of just appeared. But what people did notice is that after giving birth, she started saying some pretty revealing things publicly. She talked about being too famous now and made comments about not having to work for anything anymore. And I'm sorry, but when someone who nobody had ever heard of 6 months ago starts talking about how they don't have to work anymore, that raises every red flag in the book. King himself has apparently said that she doesn't really care if he talks to other women as long as she's being taken care of.
I've never cheated on you, ever
I don't
slept with another man,
to hear
ever.
that.
Every time I've seen this person, it's because you have did X, Y, and Z to me. I think that we have things that make us a little different. I think there are things that happen along the way, life, growth, that change a person.
And the internet's read on all of this has been pretty unanimous. Nana isn't really in it for King. She's in it for access to T.I. and Tiny's money. Because let's be completely real here. King doesn't have that kind of bag on his own. His parents would be the ones financially helping to support that grandchild, and everybody knows it. So when 50 Cent told King to stop worrying about his mama and start worrying about his baby mama running game on him, he wasn't making something up out of thin air. He was echoing what a lot of people had already been saying quietly. And the fact that 50 essentially confirmed this narrative so publicly means either he knows something specific or he's just very good at identifying exactly where someone is vulnerable. Either way, it was a calculated shot. But here's what's wild. Even after all of that, even after 50 went directly at his baby mama and his personal finances, King still didn't flinch. Not even a little bit. He came back with a full list of people 50 has publicly disrespected throughout his career. We're talking a long list spanning years of feuds, just for attention, and basically said he was going to make sure his mother's name wasn't added to that roster. And that consistency is why the internet has largely sided with King on this one. Because say what you want about him, he's young, he's aggressive, he's got his own personal messes to sort out, and he probably knows it. But that kid has not wavered for a single second when it comes to defending his mother. Not once. Not when 50 came for his looks. Not when 50 came for his baby mama. Not when 50 tried to flip it on his son. When every single response King put out circled back to the same core message. You're not going to disrespect my mother and get away with it.
And I've always been genuine, you know what I'm saying? And that's what clicks, and that's what rubs me the wrong way a lot of times and have me react certain ways, because I've always been genuine. And the industry is not genuine. So it's like,
Smart man.
I can't deal with non-genuine people genuinely. And that's hard for me because I've always been genuine.
Meanwhile, 50 Cent is a whole grown man approaching 50 years old who decided the best strategy in a music catalog beef with T.I. was to publicly humiliate his wife on social media. And people are tired of it. They've been tired of it for years. The comments across every single platform have been overwhelmingly in King's corner, with people saying it's about time somebody actually checked 50 and held him accountable for the way he constantly drags people's families into situations where they don't belong. Leave people's mamas out of it. That's not a complicated concept, and the fact that a man 50's age still hasn't figured that out says more about him than any troll post ever could. And the craziest part of all this? T.I. barely had to do anything. His son handled the whole thing. 50 Cent spent 2 decades building an entire brand around being untouchable online, being the guy nobody could out-troll, the man who always gets the last word, and a kid in his 20s just dismantled that image in a week with nothing but a phone and absolutely zero fear. Whether or not King needs to get his own house in order, and look, the baby mama situation is a real conversation he's going to have to deal with eventually. That doesn't change the fact that what 50 did to Tiny was completely out of line, and King responded the only way he knew how. Sometimes the person who finally checks the bully isn't the one everybody expected, and honestly, that's exactly what makes it hit so much harder.